Twilight's Nightmare, Chapter 29, Part 9. Family is Strange. Candace found herself slowly waking up feeling groggy and slightly pained. She was tucked in Luna's bed and was currently alone. She looked around, seeing if there was a note, orders, or anything else.
"Welcome to the land of the living again,"
Insight commented to her.
"What happened? I was waking up and then suddenly I'm waking up again."
Candace inquired.
"What happened was you decided to exuberantly fulfill part of your new oath and try to give some of your magic to an exhausted Luna. She in turn siphoned the rest from your wellspring and knocked you right back out. Try not to do that again, at least not when she's asleep."
Insight implored.
"I see. Well, I hope that was worth it. How well did you enjoy the whole event?"
Candace asked.
"I go to watch you change while you were mentally absent for a few hours, though I could still feel our emotions, so I know things went well. I don't know exactly what happened to you, that's new for me by the way. Just that Luna managed to turn you on like you were a light gem, physically and metaphorically. Then you were gone for almost 4 hours with emotions of love and passion, and when you got back you were passed out. Oh, and the fact that you grew thestral features that happened just a little bit after you started glowing, that's a sensitivity effect by the way. Most just use it on the horn or something to incite a pleasurable reaction, just so you know."
Insight explained. Candace pondered that for a little bit.
"I see."
She then remembered what occurred last night. Her face blanched as she recalled what happened after the ritual.
"Oh no, I got lost in all that was going on. I need to talk to Luna. I can't let this harm Twilight."
She felt panic starting to overwhelm her normally logical mind. Deliberately taking a mental step back, she recollected herself.
"Wait, I asked her about that, right? Insight? Why did I just freak out like that?" "Because our fear of hurting either of them is so extreme it counts as a phobia."
Insight intoned.
"I need to talk to Luna about that, and about you,"
Candace determined. Upon looking around, something caught her eyes. A bowl of fruit with a mango sitting on top. She noticed that she didn't have her usual strong aversion to the thought of a mango. The first and only time that she had eaten one, she almost died from it as her throat started to close up. Fortunately, she had the wherewithal to hold her throat open with her magic, until the symptoms passed. It was a decidedly not comfortable experience as she realized that if she didn't have her magic, she would have suffocated to death. Pulling her complaining body out of bed, she walked over to the mango in question. She didn't feel the expected nausea at the thought of it anymore at least, so she moved in to sniff it.
"Nope, still smells the same. I'm not chancing that."
Instead, she grabbed one of the apples in the bowl. She felt for the fangs that she was expecting to be there now. The sharp little things were not the super long vampony fangs that one would see in the art of some books. Rather, they were short little things that her lips could still cover easily even while talking. Though they were still sharp enough to cut into a fruit with ease. The apple didn't stand a chance. As she ate, she could feel a little of her strength returning. Seeing herself in the mirror, she checked out the new changes. In the dark, her slit eyes seemed to be normal, just with the very top and bottom having a slight hint of a point, much like a cat's eye in the darker room, when the eye was fully open. Her ears being tufted in a bright silver was new. She had a silver sheen over the tips before, but now it was like she had metal silver ear caps on, except that if you looked close enough, you could see that it was fur. The same applied to all the tips of her feathers, and it looked like she was wearing silver shoes now. There used to be a hint of silver in her actual hooves, and now they really did look like they were made from solid metal, once he pulled up a bit of fur to see them.
"Who, pray tell, is Insight?"
Luna softly whispered into Candace's ear, suddenly seeming to be just there in the reflection, a few motes of shadow lifting from her coat. Looking to the left, she saw Luna's eyes peering into her own, the curiosity being evident.
I'm not sure how to describe her. She's me, but not me at the same time. She has the same emotions as myself, but sometimes they differ a little. She's my teacher, and yet at the same time, she feels like family. She talks to me, but other times I just get messages from her in my dreams. The more time goes by, the more she seems able to talk. To be honest, it's one puzzle I've never been able to figure out. If I had to narrow it down to one word, I think I would call her either friend or sister. I apologize for not telling you this before. I literally didn't have a chance since our conversation from before, the interview, and Insight doesn't like others knowing about her. Yourself, Twilight, and Little Star are the only ones that I've ever given the okay to tell that she even exists.
Candace explained.
"How did you sneak this past my sister?"
Luna asked, stroking Candace's throat with a wingtip. Candace's reaction seemed rather positive at the touch.
"I don't think she shows up to mental scans. Insight, how did you manage to stealth past Princess Celestia?" "She isn't as good as she thinks she is."
Insight replied with a rather irreverent attitude.
Quote, she isn't as good as she thinks she is. Exactly what that means, I'm not sure. Insight doesn't often explain herself, though I'm not sure why she distrusts Princess Celestia so much.
Candace said. Luna's eyes narrowed.
Hello, Insight.
Luna's voice sounded in Candace's head. Candace could tell that the shock that she was feeling was mostly from Insight, but a little was from her as well.
Luna?
Insight said in a shocked whisper. Her emotions quickly ran from shock to desperate hope.
You can hear me? Oh, please tell me you can hear me. I can. I do wonder, however, what are you? I can tell that you're not one of the normal maladies of the mind.
Luna sent to Candace's mind. Candace gave a mental impression for Insight to go ahead, as she was curious as well.
I'm not completely sure what I am now. I get the impression that I'm Candace's twin from before our bodies fused in our mother's womb, but I'm not even sure of that. I mostly got that idea from what the doctors said likely happened when they looked at her wellsprings. I think I was the unicorn and she was the Pegasus. I believe something saved us, though I do not know what. It feels like it's the same thing that gives me knowledge seemingly at random, though. Candace, would you please grant me access to your wellspring? I would like to cast a spell. It's not harmful, but if Luna can talk to you like this, then she can receive the invitation. Luna, I promise this isn't harmful. It will help us communicate better.
Insight said with a tone of hope.
Candace, do you trust her in this?
Luna inquired of her night-chosen hybrid.
I can feel her emotion. She wouldn't be able to intend you harm any more than I could.
Candace said, her own hope adding to the emotional mix. Luna simply nodded. Then Candace opened her unicorn wellspring for Insight to access. A moment later, both Candace and Luna got a mental knock of sorts with an implied request to join the spell. Candace saw the room vanish, and a forest clearing under the moonlit sky suddenly appeared. She could still feel the stone of the room that she was sitting in, however. The feeling of the night air was present, but not quite as substantial as if she were actually there. The spell reported that this was mental imagery and that they had not actually gone anywhere. Luna appeared but a second later. The look in her eyes seemed to indicate that she got the same report from the spell. The smallest of smiles crossed Luna's face as she took in the surroundings. From the edge of the clearing, a unicorn that looked just like what Candace would have if she was born with a horn stepped out towards them both. Fear but also hope brimmed in her eyes. Insight closed her eyes, and Candace could feel the same emotion and resolve come forth from her. Insight walked up carefully to Luna, and in the last few steps swung her forelegs into a hug. Insight's eyes streamed tears of joy.
I never thought I would get the chance to even talk to you.
She half sobbed. Luna just wrapped Insight up in a hug. Insight, for her part, just melted into it. Luna looked at Candace and seemed to be reading her. Candace was feeling Insight's emotions after all. A brief moment later, Luna reached out with a wing, and brought Candace into the hug as well. Insight went in to kiss Luna on the cheek. Luna quickly glanced at Candace as she met the kiss with one of her own. Candace just leaned into the embrace. She couldn't stand between Insight and what she desired, not after an entire lifetime of not even having her own body. Candace could feel Insight's resolve of intent. She could tell that for Insight, if this was a one-time thing, the only shot she got, she was gonna take it. Candace put her hoof around Insight.
I'm sorry, Insight, I didn't know you weren't there. If I had known, I would have asked Luna to bring you and explained everything to her. Don't worry about that. The only thing I missed was the visual, and even that I can still get that from your memories. I got everything else I would have if I were there. Besides possible conversation with Luna. Honestly, it's my own fault for keeping quiet so much.
Insight said with simple acceptance in her voice. Apologies obviously were not needed here. Candace just nodded, appreciating the explanation.
So, what are we going to do with you?
Luna asked Insight in a caring tone of voice.
Fall in love and marry us?
Insight said in an innocent and playful but hopeful tone.
I can give you the dream, but you for now will have to get in line.
Luna said with a light and playful grin.
Twilight's at the front of that line.
Candace replies.
I wouldn't mind being in that line too.
Insight replied, feeling a bit playful. Luna hummed thoughtfully. Then her horn lit in the mindscape and various spells washed over both Candace and Insight. It seemed as if most of the spells were analytical, or scanning spells of some sort, but others were complete unknowns. A moment later, the mindscape flickered, then reordered itself. The details became richer and more realistic. Scents, minor differences in textures, and all the small things that most illusionists leave out now were perfectly in place.
That feels a lot nicer.
Candace noted.
Nicer? This is way better than what I was able to make.
Insight stated as she hugged Luna for all of her little unicorn body could manage. The feelings brought a renewed joy to Insight.
Then shall we see to it that you can keep this?
Luna said before turning to Candace.
Would you prefer a spell brand or a simple piece of jewelry?
Candace knew what spell brands were. Both had their advantages. Jewelry was more robust, but could be stolen or lost. Spell branding, as well as being currently illegal, could fail if the brand was cut during combat.
How could this spell brand be? Could it fit inside of my ear or something similar?
Candace asked. She could see Insight trying to hug Luna so hard that she was trying to become one with her. Fortunately, alicorns were more than a match for a unicorn's strength. Luna probably just took what would become a combat grapple to others as merely being affectionate.
Well, I will just have to be careful which one to bite then.
Luna teased. Luna's getting so much on her belt. At the end of this, she's probably gonna have double digits in body count. Anywho, let's get on to our charming donators. Top donators are 630, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, and Only One Thing. Raiden, Narwhals, Black Moonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin Rollins, Crazy Color 557, Stu Hex, Sword Brother and Mordred, Omicron Ray, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Dospo, Delta Omega, Jack Cadge, RuneScythe 9852, Madman Stan, Wesley Prickett, Drake Lovedragon, Hunter Norman, Stephen Bingham, Line God 12, Sosor Constantine, Hot Zaza, Conver, and many more amazing people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.